Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, in the last class we have discussed about SLA management. For that, we have started. What is meant by SLA? Can anyone abbreviate it? Yeah, what is SLA? Yes, Pranit.
Sir, service level agreement.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, service level agreement. There we have seen several constructs related to this SLA, like ASP means application service provider, and we have discussed about co-hosting of applications. What is meant by co-hosting of applications? In one particular server, more than one application if we host, if you allow to execute, then we can say it is co-hosting. Allowed to deploy, we can say. Next, we have seen related to this one, like it is the capacity, total capacity of it. Then without co-hosting, how it look like for service provider as well as a service consumer, okay, service customer, how it will look like. Whenever we allow co-hosting, then service consumer will look like will feel like this. That is, whatever the capacity we have, within that capacity we could able to run two applications. That's what the service consumer perspective. Whereas service provider perspective is, whenever one application is having the requirement low, then other application can rise. That's what we have discussed. Like here you see the resources required by application A is high initially, whereas application resources required by application B is low. Then simultaneously we can shift from A to B, so that whatever the capacity we have, that will within that capacity itself we could able to accommodate two applications. This is nothing but co-hosting perspective, isn't it? Do you remember it? Co-hosting is more than one application within one server we will allow to deploy. Yeah. Next, there are some challenges we will arrive when we perform co-hosting, or when we allow more than one application to run on the same server. Then some challenges will arise, like security and the performance. These are the challenges. In order to overcome this, we have to make use of virtualization technologies, where instead of deploying on the physical server, we will deploy on the virtual server, which in turn will communicate with the physical server. So this is what the basic idea which we have seen in the previous class. And these system resources can be allocated to virtual machines. Whatever the physical resources we have, those can be allocated to virtual machines in any one of the two modes. One is conserving mode, and the other one is non-conserving mode. In conserving mode, whatever the resources which we have, okay, which the user requested, if that is beyond the specified quota, then those requests will be simply denied. That is conserving mode. Whereas non-conserving mode means, from other virtual machines, whatever the unutilized resources we have, those can be given access to the user who is requesting more than the allowed quota. So this is a variant, like two modes: conserving, non-conserving. In the conserving, a virtual machine demanding more system resources than the specified quota cannot be allocated. That means whatever the spare resources we have in other other virtual machines, those cannot be utilized. Whereas in non-conserving mode, those spare resources that are not utilized by co-hosted virtual machines can be used. Okay, this is the difference between conserving mode and non-conserving mode of resource allocation in resource allocation to virtual machines. Yeah. Next, and we have seen how what are SLOs. What are SLOs? What can you abbreviate? What is SLO? Yes, SLO. Yes, please respond now. Service level objectives. Yeah, okay. Service level objectives. Basically, we have seen two service level objectives. One is response time, another one is throughput. Okay, these are the service level objectives. So, how we can maintain these? We have seen like SLA management. There are two broad techniques like load balancing technique. Another one is admission control techniques or mechanisms. Load balancing techniques, the name itself indicating there will be a node called front end node, which will receive all the requests and it will distribute the load among all other nodes, which we call it as back end nodes. Okay, like that we have seen basic structure is like this. Front end node will be having where we will be receiving all the requests from users or the applications. Then according to the availability, it will distribute to the back-end nodes. Okay, other nodes we call it as back-end nodes. Now, based upon the awareness of what kind of what type of client and what type of request it has asked, based upon these two, we can classify load balancing techniques into two types. Basically, one is like class agnostic, in the sense both type of the client and type of the request both are not known to the front end node. Then we can say such kind of application algorithm as class agnostic load balancing algorithm. Whereas if any one of those are both are known to the front end node, that is type of the client or type of the request is known, then we can say that as class aware load balancing algorithm. Okay, here again based upon what is known to the front end node, we can classify like client aware, in the sense what type of client it is, and that is what are the request it has received from which client, which type of client it has received, that is known to the front end node means, that is known to the front end node means such kind of the load balancing algorithm we call it as client aware load balancing algorithm. If the type of the request only known, not type of the client, only type of the request is known, then we can say it as content aware load balancing algorithm. And if both are known, like client type we know and what type of request it has given, that is also known, then we can say it is client plus content aware load balancing algorithm. Okay, this is the taxonomy of load balancing algorithm we have seen. And second type of SLA management that we have seen is admission control mechanisms or admission control techniques or algorithms. Here basically what is the when we will make use of these techniques or algorithms is whenever the set of requests is submitted, okay, and we are having extreme load on the server, then what can be done? Like if we have already maximum load on the server, and if new jobs submitted, okay, new requests submitted, then whether we will admit those jobs for execution or we will discard, or when we will consider, these all things will come under this admission control mechanisms. So in this particular one, here we are having two types based upon the vertical, how we will deal with the requests which came or which we receive when the server is at extreme load. There are two types, like request based, another one is session based. Request based in the sense like here you see reject new requests. These request-based admission control algorithms reject new requests if servers are running to their capacity. That means at extreme capacity, if servers are running, straight away it will reject new requests. But what is the disadvantage or the limitation of this kind of approach is if the client session consists of several requests which are interdependent. It's like one request for one particular task to be completed, there are 4 requests to be completed or 4 requests to be served. After 3, if server is at extreme load, then it will not allow. Whenever we use request based algorithm, then it will not allow the 4th one. Why? Because the server is at extreme load. Then what will happen? Although we have executed 3 requests, we could not able to complete the task. That is the disadvantage, because all 4 are interrelated. That is the disadvantage. That's why what can be the suggestible model of admission control mechanism is session based algorithm. What it will do is, for the specified duration of time, whatever the requests it will receive, all these requests will be admitted or submitted for execution. Such kind of what you call provision is allowed, so that same criteria, if you consider like 4 requests we are having to accomplish a task, then we will reserve some ample amount of time. Within that time, these 4 can be admitted. Whatever the interrelated or related requests we have, those all can be admitted, and those all will get server access within the specified time. This is the second type of admission control mechanisms called session based algorithms. Okay, till this point we have seen the previous class. Next, now we will be seeing what are the types of service level agreements that we have. Types of service level agreements. Here, what is meant by service level agreement? It is nothing but it will provide a framework within which both seller and buyer both will pursue a profitable service business relationship. That means resources will be provided by service provider, and these will be offered to sell. Okay, offered to sell. These will be available to sell, or we can say these are available to give for rent. Okay, or can be given for lease. And buyer perspective is, instead of establishing entire infrastructure on their own, let us host for certain period of time, and for that period only we will pay. Such kind of like let us take for lease, and we will utilize it. After that, we don't need to maintain that infrastructure, and we don't need to bother about establishing that infrastructure, all these things. So that is the mutual benefit they will be thinking from both these sides. Like the seller will be looking for, if I establish infrastructure, if I have more infrastructure with us, then I can offer and I can negotiate with people who require such infrastructure, so that I can get the proper utilization of these resources, and I can get some profit as well. Similarly, buyer's perspective is, instead of establishing that entire infrastructure which we require for a limited amount of time, okay, limited period, instead of establishing entire infrastructure, let us take for lease or rent for that particular or required amount of time, and we will pay for whatever the usage we have incurred. This is what the perspective of buyer and seller. Okay, so between these two, profitable service business relationship is can be established through this service level agreement. Formally, what we can say is the necessary terms and conditions that bind the service provider to provide services continually to the service consumer are formally defined in SLA. What are the terms and conditions in order to utilize the resources? Okay, resources provided by service provider continually to service consumer. These will be defined in service level agreement called SLA. Okay, these SLA can be modeled using this particular agreement language, Web Service Level Agreement, WSLA language specification. This SLA will be, it's like how it will look like. I think you might be knowing the term called SRS. Anyone, can you abbreviate what is SRS? Yes. Yes, SRS.
Internet provider.
Full form, please tell full form. With respect to software engineering, you think?
Software requirement specification.
Yeah, software requirement specification. What it will contain is, suppose you are the developer and I am the customer, then what kind of software I want, I will be telling orally, like this is the requirement, this is the requirement, all this. And you will be telling, okay, I'll provide that, I'll develop this like this. You will give all the vertical commitments, but there should be an agreement between you and me, right? That is the developer and the customer. There should be an agreement. That is nothing but SRS. That is what kind of functional requirements I will be requiring, and what kind of non-functional requirements I will be requiring. All these things will be specified formally in SRS. Okay, that will be signed by both the developer and the customer, so that at the end of the project development, this SRS will be checked. Okay, whether all the commitments met or not. This is the usual process. In the same way, SLA means service level agreement. Service provider will be there, service consumer will be there, or customer will be there. Okay, between these two, there will be an agreement called service level agreement. That means terms and conditions. What kind of service I will be providing, and what how much time I will be utilizing. Like this, terms and conditions will be there. That is nothing but SLA. Is it clear, ma? SLA, because entire class depends on this understanding.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, this particular service level agreement is having key components, like some template kind of thing we will be having. In the template, what you call mandatory fields, we can say these key components. Service level parameter, this is the first one, service level parameter. Second one is metrics. Third one is function. Fourth one is measurement directives. These are the four key components that we need to have in every SLA. Okay, service level parameter. In the sense, what is the observable property of a service whose value is measurable? That is nothing but service level parameter. What kind of parameter? Whether it is like we can say storage thing, storage capacity, we can measure it, right? Or whether it is processing power, that is also we can measure it. Processing power, what is the time it requires? All these things can be measurable, so that we can consider as service level parameter. And metrics are nothing but it's like suppose one land is there. How you can measure? How we can measure what is the area of the land? It depends by using square feet, square meters, square yards, like this. Some measures will be there, right? Those are nothing but metrics, actually. Metrics are the key instrument to describe exactly what SLA parameters mean by specifying how to measure or compute the parameter values. Those are metrics. Next, function. A function specifies how to compute metrics values from the values of other metrics and constants. This is function. Next, the last one is measurement directives. It is like some directive where we will be having some library functions to measure the metrics which we have specified. These are the key components of service level agreements: service level parameter, metrics, function, measurement, directives. Okay. Next, coming to the types of SLA, that is the service level agreements. There are two types. One is infrastructure SLA, and the one is application SLA. The name itself indicating infrastructure SLA will give you the agreement on availability of infrastructure. What can be the infrastructure? It can be server machine, it can be power, network connectivity, several kinds of infrastructure related things we can consider. Regarding these all infrastructure, if you made some agreement, then that is called infrastructure SLA. Got it? There are two types of SLA, two types of service level agreements: infrastructure SLA, application SLA. Infrastructure, the name itself indicating, it is dealing with types of what you call server machines and the power, even computing power in the sense, computing power and network connectivity, several these kind of infrastructure related agreements are terms and conditions we can include in infrastructure SLA. Okay, and let us see the example. See here, hardware availability. This is see what is the format that we will be having in SLA. Service level parameter. What is the parameter that we are considering here is hardware availability. This is the parameter. Now, what is the metric? 99% uptime in a calendar month. This is what the agreement. This is one example. This is the parameter and this is the agreement. Next, power availability. This much percentage of the time in a calendar month. Data center network availability, backbone network availability. These are related to whether hardware is available, power is available. Like next, data center network is available or not. About these we are having. Next, one more thing is, if a service is unavailable, then what is the penalty? Like refund of service credit prorated on downtime period. This is about if the service is unavailable for certain amount of time, then some penalty will be incurred, that is refund. Next, outage notification guarantee. So for example, if the service is unavailable or due to maintenance for 1 particular hour or 2 hours, if that is not available, then that notification has to be given to the user. Like you might be observing some message. I don't know whether you have received or not, or whether you remember it or not. From bank, you will be receiving from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. This will on so and so date. It will go into maintenance. So RTGS transactions will not be performed during that time, or NEFT transactions cannot be performed. Will be what you call unavailable during that time. Such kind of notification will be given by bankers. Have you experienced it? Yes. Understand my point? Yes. See, it is like whenever service is unavailable for certain amount of time, and that is known, okay, that is like due to maintenance or due to update, that service is not available for 1 hour or 2 hours or 5 hours, and then that has to be notified. Okay, notified to the user. That is outage notification guarantee. Next, internet latency guarantee. When latency is measured at 5-minute interval to an upstream provider, the average does not exceed 60 milliseconds. Yeah. Next, packet loss guarantee. These all are service parameters, which on these all parameters we can have certain agreement. Like whenever network failure is there, then what is the necessary measure you will be taking, and if the server is down for certain amount of time, then what is the penalty that you will pay. These all things are like agreements before starting. Yeah, before starting actual business operations. This is the example for infrastructural SLA. There are two types of SLA, right? One is infrastructure SLA, another one is application SLA. This one. Next, now coming to application SLA. Here, in the application co-location hosting, we have seen already co-location hosting model. The server capacity is available to the applications based solely on their resource demands. Whenever it requests, then depending upon the availability of the resources, it will be allocated. Now, application SLA will also have certain parameters like service level parameter. We should have metrics associated with it. Then function measurement directives. So, example we can see with respect to application SLA, service level parameter metric. What is the metric that we are using here is website response time. This is one of the parameter type. Okay. Example, maximum of 3.5 seconds per user request. This is the agreement. Within 3.5 seconds, the user request has to be has to be processed. That is the response time. This is the parameter metric that we are using is website response time. Next, function latency of web server. What is the latency of a database and a web server? Average latency of a web server. All these things will come under the function. So next, measurement directive, database latency available. This is like library things which we have seen while discussing about the template of each SLA. Next, service level objectives. Of course, we have seen that these are the key components. That means in every SLA document we will be having this. In addition to these, we can have several others as well. So here we are having additionally service level objective, penalty, these kind of things. About those also here we have mentioned. This is about an application of an example of application SLA. Okay. So two types of SLA, infrastructure SLA, application SLA, and this is the example for infrastructure SLA. This is the example for application SLA. And next, coming to the life cycle of SLA. Life cycle of SLA. There are 5 different steps that we have here: contract definition, publishing and discovery, negotiation, operationalization, and decommissioning. See, these all actually we have completed the discussion of these without formally introducing these terms. Okay, just we'll go through these once formally, like contract definition. In the sense, here we will be having generally service providers define a set of service offerings and corresponding SLAs using standard templates. It's like service providers, like suppose Google is providing some services. Okay, cloud service provider. Next, Amazon is providing some services. Then Google will be having some standard template which will give us give information to the user or the customer who requires that particular one. They could able to access those, like these are the offerings, these are the available resources that I have, and this is the agreement. If you wanted to avail this plan, these are the features. If you wanted to avail this plan, then these are the features. It's more or like I think you might be knowing this ACT FiberNet. You consider that will provide internet facility. Okay, there will be defined plans. Okay, if this particular plan, this is the amount of data that you will be getting, this is the speed, all these things, this is the duration. Like this, all the things are available. Just individual user who wants to utilize that service, they could go through all those, okay, which are available, and accordingly he could negotiate with the people who are concerned with that particular service, and finally they could able to work out the common operation, okay, business operation. This is what will happen. So here with respect to this cloud service providers also, what they will do is they will define a set of service offerings. What are the service offerings and what are the terms and conditions related to those using standard templates. And these service offerings, it is nothing but catalog. Okay, see, these service offerings form a catalog. Next, individual SLAs for enterprises can be derived by customizing these templates. Whatever the templates we have, these can be customized in order to build standard what you call SLAs for enterprises. Like suppose let us say you have established an organization, your own company you have established. For that company, you need to get an internet connection for entire organization. Then whatever the template they had already, like ACT Fibernet is having one template. Okay, within the template, according to your requirement, they could customize it for you, because it is not regular plan that you can do. That template can be customized. Such kind of thing is allowed. So entirely contract definition in the sense, in general, service providers will be having some SLAs. Those can be customized for enterprises in order to make those are available individually. Okay, so individual SLAs for enterprises can be derived by customizing these basic or base SLA templates. Okay, this is the first step here, that is contract definition. Next, publishing and discovery. In the sense, service provider advertises these base service offerings through standard publication media. It is like whatever the catalog it is having, that will be publicized, and then the customers can search different competitive offerings, like ACT is there, some other high reach is there, like that several service providers which are offering the same kind of service. Among those service providers, the customer could able to get all the information, and they could compare and shortlist some which will fulfill their requirement for further negotiation, like they will be shortlisting. And negotiation is nothing but once the customer has discovered a service provider who can meet their requirements, then terms and conditions needs to be mutually agreed upon before signing the agreement. That is mandatory. Now, for customized applications that are hosted on cloud platform, this phase is manual. That means manually they should go through the terms and conditions, and they should customize this. This is the relaxation which we need, and this is the relaxation which we may provide. Like this, some negotiation could happen, and finally they will agree upon it. So now, the service provider needs to analyze the application's behavior with respect to scalability and performance before agreeing on the specification of SLA. Like some applications may need more data storage compared to the initial one. Like you consider, suppose Facebook is there. Facebook is the application. If you agree to deploy that application in your cloud, let us say you are the service provider. Initially, Facebook will not have much data. Why? Because it is just a template kind of thing where user will register and could able to see the data which is available. But over a time, so many users will be added. Each user will be putting their own data, like photos, videos, or some text. All these things they will put. Then it will keep on increasing the need of data storage. Then whether such kind of scalability is possible with us or not, that has to be ensured, or that has to be estimated before agreeing on SLA. Before signing on SLA, service provider needs to analyze what is the behavior of the application which it is going to deploy in it. That is what needed in negotiation step. At the end of this phase, the SLA is mutually agreed by both customer and the provider. Okay, this is about the third step called negotiation. Next, coming to the fourth one, which is actual operation which we are going to do on this by utilizing this SLA or the service which is being offered by service provider. Operationalization. Here SLA operation consists of this. Operationalization is nothing but actual operation of SLA. Here we are having three types of things. One is SLA monitoring, SLA accounting, enforcement. Monitoring is nothing but measuring parameter values and calculating the metrics defined as part of SLA and determining the deviations. Any deviations are there or not, that will be measuring. Okay, that will be measured. This is what SLA monitoring. Next, whenever it identifies any deviations, concerned parties are notified. Okay, this is about SLA monitoring. And the second one is SLA accounting, which involves capturing and achieving the SLA adherence for compliance. Like whenever it is down for certain time, then how we can able to get the penalty, how we have to pay the penalty, all these things will be come under this SLA accounting. If some service is offered by service provider and if that service is down for certain amount of time, then what is the penalty incurred? From service provider point of view, how we can pay that penalty, that is one thing. From service requester point of view, how we can get that penalty. These are the two things which will come under SLA accounting. So now next, third one is SLA enforcement. Like whenever the SLA is violated, then how we can ensure that whatever the agreement we have signed, what is the step that we have to take to ensure that? That is SLA enforcement. It involves taking appropriate action when the runtime monitoring detects a SLA violation. If that is violated, service provider agreed to give internet speed of certain Mbps. If that SLA is violated, then what is the step to be taken in order to incorporate whatever the SLA signed? This is what you call SLA enforcement. These are the three steps that we have in operationalization. Okay, this is the fourth step in SLA life cycle. Next, the final one is after these all operations, SLA can be vertical withdrawn, like decommissioning. That process we call it as decommissioning. In the sense, SLA decommissioning involves termination of all the activities performed under a particular SLA. When the hosting relationship between service provider and service consumer has ended, after certain amount of suppose a service consumer has taken certain resources, certain services for lease for 1 year. After that 1 year period of time, SLA agreement has ended. Then how we can decommission all these things? Like the data has to be released properly, and released in the sense simply if we delete all the data from service provider point of view, then it will be a problem again. So we have to give the data back to the service consumer so that they could take necessary steps to what you call back up the data, all these things. So this is about decommissioning. The last step is called decommissioning. So final, what are the 5 steps that we have in life cycle of SLA are: contract definition. There, service providers will be forming a catalog with template SLA templates. They will be forming service catalogs. Individual SLAs can be made by customizing whatever the template SLAs that they have. Okay, by using template tasks, SLAs, individual SLAs can be developed. This is the first step called contract definition. And coming to the second one, that is publishing and discovery. That is advertising whatever the templates or catalog they formed. That catalog has to be publicized so that service consumers who requires that particular uh, service could able to communicate with the service provider, and accordingly they could able to negotiate. The third one is called negotiation. That is before signing the SLA, what are the terms and conditions to be followed? This will be negotiated. Next, operationalization. Here we will be having three kinds of operations like SLA, what you call accounting. The first one is what? SLA monitoring, SLA accounting. The third one is SLA enforcement. So these are the three steps that we have seen under this operationalization. Then finally, decommissioning is nothing but withdrawing our agreement which we have signed earlier. Okay, that is terminating our agreement. These are the 5 steps involved in SLA life cycle. Is it clear, ma? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Next, 10:15. Okay. Okay. Briefly, I will show you this one. In the next class, we'll see in detail. SLA management. SLA management in cloud. Here we will be having 5 phases: feasibility, onboarding, pre-production, production, and termination. These are the 5 phases that we have in SLA management. Earlier one, SLA life cycle. This is SLA management. Here in this entire feasibility, onboarding, pre-production, production, and termination. In this particular one, directly we can see this diagram. Here you can observe feasibility analysis, onboarding, pre-production, production, and cease. These are the 5 steps. Okay, each individual phase is having several sub steps where we will be performing. Like I think it's not sufficient to discuss this. Yeah, we'll discuss in the next class this one, SLA management, and we'll be having one more test, that is test 3. Maybe next week we'll be having, or in the first week of May we'll be having that.